Hey everybody, so today what we're going to be doing is starting the process of tracking the bobcat that we have on our property in order to get some really good footage of them. I've gone to a couple websites, read a couple of articles on how to track bobcats. Obviously that's for hunting purposes. This is not at all what we're doing here. We just want to get good game camera footage so I can make a video similar to the porcupine video we've done in the past. There's a pretty typical trail that they follow from the back of the property. There's an old farming stone fence line in the back, and we know because we've seen tracks in the snow and we've seen footage in the summertime, and basically the way that they travel is usually over the top of that rock wall. They cut across the property and then they cut up through where we made the thin path through the pine forest, and they travel on off the property that way. So it's a nice long diagonal line. We should have a good area to try to catch them and get some footage in that. And in the summertime, we know for sure that the bobcat uses the bridge. That's the only place we got footage until this winter of the bobcat was going across the bridge. So that was a nice easy place to get it, because you could just set it up on the bridge and you'd come back a week or 2 weeks later and you'd almost be guaranteed within a month you'd get some sort of footage of the bobcat. But that's great. Those are just odd chances that we did capture him on film. But what we really want to do is get a nice sequence of him or her traveling across the property and kind of what they do. So we have a couple of areas that we've captured, like I mentioned before, in the pine forest and on the bridge, and then through the back of the property on the trail. So that's where we're going to start. We've seen tracks there. We've gotten pictures on the game cameras there. So we'll start there. We know that there's some pretty good rabbit habitat in that area. It's like low bushes, rock outcrops to hide, and a main food source for bobcats is rabbits. And we definitely have rabbits on the property from trail cam pictures, which pretty hilariously, rabbits don't get captured on the trail cam until they're in the last little section of the frame because they're fast and small. So we know that they live back there. We have a lot of activity like track wise in the wintertime, so we're going to set some cameras up there and we'll leave them for a week or two and see what we get. And when we come back the next time, we'll check them, and I'm hoping that we're going to get some pretty good footage. So we'll see if we have any luck. It's more of a game of patience. It might take a couple of months, but just narrowing down the scope of where they go and what does attract them is the basis of this first video in the series. I'll cut to a quick clip of me making an anise oil. So one of the ways that you can attract bobcats is by making an anise oil and kind of just spreading it along the bottom of the tree in an area where you have seen bobcat tracks go by before, or you have other things set up to attract them to that space. So for those unfamiliar with anise, it's a small star-shaped seed pod, which I have right here. Maybe the camera can focus on that for you. There we go. So you grind up a few star anise pods and you drop it into like a neutral oil, something like a vegetable oil, over low heat, which I have right here on the stove. You cook that on low for about 10 minutes so that the oil kind of takes in the essence and flavor of the anise, and apparently that attracts bobcats. So what we're gonna do now is head out in the back area and put some of that anise oil in the trees, set up a couple of things to attract the bobcats, place the cameras in places that make sense to capture. So we'll go do that next. I'll see you out there. Cheers. Okay, so this is our first spot that we've seen the bobcat go right through here, starting on out of the camera frame over here on the left side, cutting straight across and going over here into the neighbor's yard. So we have a game cam set up here. We've caught him before on this. I'm going to put a little bit of that anise oil in this tree here, on one of the trees over here, and then a couple of these trees over here that we know he's brushed by before. Yeah, and we'll see if we get some success. So I just want to mention I was just back here setting up the next spot for the bobcat, and if you see this little tree right here up from the ground, maybe like 7 feet up from the ground, the barred owl is right on top of that tree, about 20 feet away from me. So he's sitting there staring at me. You can hear and he flew up right
on the top of it. So if you see where his birdhouse is right there, the barred owl house, if you go to the left of it and then up about two trees and about another 20 feet, he's up in that branch over there. I'll try to get some footage, but all the birds are squawking and going crazy right now because he's in the area. So hey, hopefully that's a good sign that he's actually gonna live in that house we made for him. Yeah, I don't know if you can see, but he is literally right up in that tree right there. He blends in so well. If I put my finger, it's like this tree right here. He's sitting on a branch right outside of it. Let's see if we can get him on camera a little better than this. Oh, he's thinking about taking off. Oh yeah. He just turned his head. There he goes, there he goes. Yeah, that's awesome. Super cool. Okay, so we're here at the second spot. This silver birch right here, I had a game camera set up here a couple weeks ago, and it got the bobcat going basically right along this route here up the hill. So we're going to set up the game camera there again. Better quality one this time. I'm going to put some of that anise oil in the trees, and I'm going to try to dangle like a leaf or something with some string to attract it into the frame. Okay, I'm setting up one more camera right here on this tree down here. I'm going to put some more of the oil around here and probably another piece of pine dangling from the tree. And then I'm just going to do that for a couple more game cameras, since we've captured from all the way up on that hill over there in the woods, coming down the slope here, right across to here. And then the edge of the property is over here. If you see that big stump of a tree right there, there's a rock wall, so we'll put the last one on that side, and we'll get that nice trajectory all the way from that side all the way back across to the other side of the property. Hey everybody, it's been a week since I put all the game cameras out there, so we're just headed out in the woods now to check the cameras and to see if we got any tracks or any other signs of the bobcat. Okay, so we found something on the ground here that kind of looks like tracks. So bobcats will, like cats in general, will put their back paws where their front paws landed, so it always looks like it's maybe two feet, and it usually goes in a pretty straight line, which this kind of looks like, but I can't fully tell because it snowed a couple times this week, so the tracks are mostly filled in, so it could be a deer or another animal, but it has characteristics you think you might find with a cat track, a bobcat.
So it's been a week since we put the cameras out back, and we just went back there and took a quick peek at all the memory cards, and we didn't have much. So we got a quick shot of a coyote running across the frame and some deer, but we didn't get anything with the bobcat, which is not surprising. Again, it's been 7 days at this point since we put the cameras out there originally. Bobcats have a 25 to 32 mile range, so they do use the same game trails. They tend to travel along the same path that they've traveled along before, so they are predictable. They'll always travel those trails again, but it's very infrequent, so it might be a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks before we see him or her pass by that path there again. So yeah, that's where we're at. So what we're going to do now is we're going to step it up a little bit. So through my research, I've seen that basically a bobcat is very similar to a house cat, both being cats, and you can attract them the same ways. So we have a little vial of catnip here, catnip bubbles in fact, and I'm going to use that as an attractant for some of the areas that we have the cameras. They also say if you dangle a feather, which we talked about a little bit in the video last week, that can attract them. So I just went full out. So we're using a cat toy for this. So I've got I used like a, see, it's making noise already on me. So I'm using a fishing line here with a lure setup, and then it goes down to this sweet feathered mockingbird, hummingbird, I think it is, yeah, on here. So basically what happens is the wind will catch this, but it won't let it move too much because the weight here that you hang on it kind of stops the movement, and it only lets the bird sway down here. So we're going to use that. We're going to put it in one of our areas of the game cam setup. We're going to do a little bit of catnip, and that's it. We're not going to do anything else because I'm kind of trying to see what works, what doesn't work. We really didn't see any tracks back there, so we don't think it had anything to do with whether or not they liked the anise oil on the trees. I don't think they didn't pass with the area at all. But something like this hanging from a tree can attract attention from far away, and maybe where they wouldn't have normally traveled that path, they would choose to now to come investigate, like any regular cat. So we'll set that up. We'll use a little bit of the catnip. I haven't really figured out what I'm going to use for that yet. And they also say if you set up like a small, I don't know, like a stick lean-to, kind of, like something to kind of explore into, that's another way they can get them to come, because they think it might be a burrow or a den or something, so they might come, stay in frame for a little bit longer and check it out. So we're going to go up back right now, set up those new things up, and then we're going to leave them again for another week until we come back up here, and we'll take a look and see if we've got any luck. Cheers.
You can see right here, you got my footprint trail from where I've been going this whole time, and right next to it right here is a nice deep porcupine tracks. So it's the same guy every single night going the same way. You can see how like burrowed out this is. Let me get you close down to it. It's a nice channel. It goes all the way off the camera, way down there with the tree. Every single night, same thing. Alright, so we're back in the woods again. That's where we set the trail camera up. This is where we've seen them come through. We know that this is my sad attempt at attracting. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put that cat toy up there and see how it goes. Alright, so that's it. We got everything set up. All the game cameras ready to go. Cat toy in place, catnip placed. We'll leave it for another week and see how it goes.
Alright, so it's been another week. We've had the cat toy out there and the catnip out there to try to attract the bobcats a little more than we did before for an additional week, 2.5 weeks total at this point. And we haven't gotten any footage out, unfortunately. Not a huge surprise. It takes time. I think that we're headed in the right direction, and I think that we have things set up to capture them, and I think that if they do come through this area and they do see the things that we've set up, we are going to be able to keep them in frame for a little bit longer and get some good video of them. It wasn't all a loss, so we've had 6 game cameras set up now on that one trajectory from across the rock wall, through the property, through the pine forest, and off to the other side. And there's been a lot of activity. In fact, we've gotten some great footage. We did get an awesome shot of an owl. And I'll let the footage speak for itself. So I'm just gonna let you watch the footage, and then we'll wrap things up, and we'll have video series 2 of tracking a bobcat sometime in the near future, and hopefully we'll have a success then. So that was some surprising footage. It is something we have never seen happen before here. An animal catching prey in the video. So basically what you saw in part of that, so there was great footage, but that last piece there with the owl was him eating a squirrel. And if you look in the video, he's like rigor mortified. Basically, if an owl ends up killing more than it can eat in a certain serving, serving size, it'll leave the prey in a certain area and come back to it later. What happened there was it definitely had killed that squirrel at a time when it had already killed something else and eaten it and put it somewhere to remember it, and it froze and he was coming back to eat again. So that's awesome. So no bobcat, unfortunately, but plenty of good footage, and I hope you enjoyed this first installment in the Tracking the Bobcat series, and we have plenty more to bring to you. Thanks again for watching, everybody. Give it a like if you liked it, and definitely subscribe to the channel if this is something that you're interested in. Thanks again, everybody. Until next time, cheers.